Dusk on a hill in Holland. The herd has gathered around a single flower. It is, by any measure, a tulip. The year is 1637. This bulb, the legend says, is worth a fine house on an Amsterdam canal. It does not smell better than other tulips. It cannot be eaten. It spends most of the year underground, disguised as an onion. And yet the herd bids, louder. This is bubble season, the strangest event in the species calendar. Money in the Wild, number 5, bubble season. The species Homo Spendens, the consuming human. Once a decade or so, it decides a worthless thing is priceless. Then, all at once, it remembers. The remembering is never gentle. Tonight we follow the mania through 4 centuries. Flowers, toys, sock puppets, and cartoon monkeys costing more than houses. We will also examine this tulip rather closely. There is a crack in this story. We shall return to it. But first, the anatomy. Because every bubble, every single one, follows the same 5 steps. The species has run this experiment for 400 years. It has never once checked the results. Stage 1, something new arrives in the habitat. A flower, a railway, an internet. Scientists call this the displacement. The consumer calls it different names. The future, a sure thing, the one its brother-in-law told it about. Stage 2, the boom. Prices rise. Slowly at first, then the neighbours start getting richer, visibly, at barbecues. Nothing in nature moves a specimen faster than a slightly richer neighbour. Not hunger, not fire, nothing. Stage 3, euphoria. The herd stops asking what the thing is worth and starts asking what someone dumber will pay tomorrow. Science calls this the greater fool theory. The herd is remarkably confident in the supply of fools. It is briefly correct. Stage 4, the clever specimens quietly sell and tell everyone else how well the thing is doing on the way out. Stage 5, panic. One morning with no warning and no news, the herd simply changes its mind. All of it, at once. The scientists who mapped these stages, Minsky and Kindleberger, watched them repeat for a century. The map has never once been used. Even the cleverest human who ever lived, the one who weighed the planets, fell for it at stage 3. To meet him, we go to England, 1720. Bring a calculator. It will not help. London, 1720. A company called the South Sea Company makes one promise. Gold waiting across the ocean. There is one catch. That ocean belongs to Spain, and Spain and Britain keep going to war. So the gold never comes. So the company never really trades. It just sells its own shares. And the price climbs 8 times higher in 6 months. Soon, copycats appear. One even asks people for money for a business and refuses to say what the business is. The herd hands over its money by lunchtime. Enter the cleverest specimen alive, Isaac Newton, the man who worked out gravity and the laws of the universe. Newton buys early. The price rises, he sells, and he doubles his money. Very clever. It does not last, because the price keeps climbing without him. His friends get rich. So Newton buys back in right at the top. Then it crashes. Newton loses £20,000, millions today. He never lets anyone say South Sea near him again. His conclusion, he could measure the stars, but not the madness of people. And remember, this is the smartest the species gets. Now watch the ordinary ones with their stuffed toys. America, the 1990s. The new arrival in the habitat is a small bean-filled toy costing $5. The maker, Ty Warner, has discovered the oldest lever in the species. He retires a few designs on purpose. Scarcity. Suddenly the toys are not toys, they are assets. The herd starts buying them in gloves. Grown specimens fight in shop aisles. Magazines print price guides for beanbags, laid out exactly like stock tables. By the late 90s, the toys are roughly 1 in 10 of everything sold on eBay. Some borrow against their own homes just to buy more. One father spends $100,000, his kids' college fund, on toys. In 1999, a divorcing couple in Las Vegas cannot agree on custody of the Beanie Babies. A judge orders the collection spread across the courtroom floor, and the pair pick toys one by one in turns. This is a real courtroom, a real judge, and a real hill the species chose to die on. Then the maker announces the toys will stop. The herd, at last, asks the fatal question, worth what, to whom? Within 2 years, the collections trade for roughly 2% of their peak. The college fund is, once again, a beanbag. The herd is briefly embarrassed. It resolves to stop buying silly things. It buys the internet instead. Stage 1, again, a genuinely new thing arrives. The displacement is real. The internet will in fact change everything. This is the cruelest detail of bubble season. The herd is usually right about the future and ruined anyway. Add .com to a company's name and its price jumps. This works on companies that barely own computers. The Nasdaq, the tech watering hole, rises 600% in 5 years. Everyone's brother-in-law is a genius now. Take pets.com. It sold dog food online but shipped each bag for less than it cost. Its mascot, a sock puppet. The puppet became a star, a Super Bowl advert, a giant parade balloon. The company behind it had no real way to make money. It sold shares to the public, then collapsed just 9 months later. The puppet outlived the whole company. In March of 2000, on no particular news, the herd changes its mind. Stage 5, all at once. The Nasdaq falls 78%. Trillions vanish. The genius brothers-in-law go very quiet at barbecues. Surely after losing trillions, the species learns. It does. It learns to do the same thing faster, with memes. January 2021. The habitat is locked down. The herd is indoors, bored and armed with trading apps. The prey this time, GameStop, a shop selling video game discs in shopping malls during a plague and a download era. The big predators, hedge funds, have bet so heavily on its death, they have shorted more shares than actually exist, 140% of them. The herd notices on a forum and smells blood. For once, the stampede runs at the predators, buying on purpose to trap them. The price runs from $17 to $483. In 3 weeks, a specimen called Roaring Kitty turns $53,000 into $48 million. He communicates chiefly through cat memes. A hedge fund loses half its money in a month and requires a $2.75 billion rescue. The herd celebrates. This is the first bubble the species has inflated as an act of revenge. Then stage 5 arrives, as it always does, and the late arrivals discover the exits are also crowded. Still, a shop for game discs briefly terrified Wall Street. The herd calls this week the good old days. Next, the species did something genuinely new. It paid house money for pictures it could not touch. The NFT, a receipt proving the consumer owns an image everyone else can copy, free forever. A cartoon monkey, one of 10,000 nearly identical cartoon monkeys, sells for over $400,000. Celebrities buy in. A pop star pays $1.3 million for his monkey. The monkey looks appropriately sad. The first tweet ever written sells for $2.9 million. A year later, the top offer, a few hundred. By 2023, researchers check 73,000 collections. About 70,000 are worth precisely nothing. The sad monkey now trades near 1% of its price. The consumer still cannot touch it. And bubble season never closes. This very decade, the herd queued around blocks for a small, grinning plush troll. Resellers hoarded it at 10 times retail until the factory simply made $30 million a month, and the scarcity evaporated. Resale prices fell by 4/5. The toy company, meanwhile, is fine. It sold the shovels, not the gold. Which brings us, at last, back to the flower. It has been waiting on its cushion since the beginning. The tulipmania of 1637. History's most famous bubble. drownings in canals, a nation undone by flowers. A historian, Anne Goldgar, spent years in the Dutch archives looking for the bodies. Here is what she found. Fewer than 400 traders. 37 people who ever paid truly silly money, and not one recorded bankruptcy. No drownings, no ruined nation. The florists mostly just didn't pay and went back to lunch. The legend was written 2 centuries later by a Scottish journalist who never let evidence spoil a good stampede. Savour this. The species' most famous mania is itself inflated. The consumer overvalues even its own cautionary tales, which raises tonight's final question: what is the herd bidding on right now, certain that this time is different? At this very moment, the habitat is pouring its wealth into artificial intelligence. 5 companies now weigh nearly a third of the market. Half the professional money watchers call it a bubble. The other half is buying. Some individuals appear in both halves. The narrator offers no prediction. The narrator merely observes that every specimen in tonight's film asked the same question, and answered it with the 4 most expensive words in the species' vocabulary. This time is different. So what protects a specimen when the whole herd is running and the neighbours glow with money? The answer is dull. After every crash, the people left richest had simply bought slowly and waited. Call it hibernation. It beats stampeding every single time, and it is far, far worse at parties. Isaac Newton could not manage it. It is unlikely your brother-in-law will. Be gentle with the herd. It is not stupid. It is social, and it wants so badly to belong. Bubbles are simply belonging with a price chart attached. Homo Spendens, owner of 1 tulip, 1 beanbag, and 1 sad monkey. It will be fine. Probably. Next time, a predator has moved into the consumer's pocket. A casino the size of a phone, open all night.